All right, Katie, looks like we're ready at the top of the hour, shall we?
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Telecom Wise Guys webinar. My name's Tim McLean. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Commio. Really excited to be joined by Katie Reddick, who's our Director of Customer Success, who is the original very first employee of Think before it became Commio. Great to have you here, Katie.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this with everyone.
Yeah, I really like that we've changed this format. I think having a more interactive format with questions and answers for real experts, such as yourself, is really helpful. I think some background will be really handy because Katie, you've been with us so long. It's like, as the company has grown over the years, I'm sure you've seen some interesting things. Um, there's probably no question that you haven't had to answer at some level, right?
Very
And
true. Very true.
I'd love to start with just sort of your general impression, like as somebody, I basically I'm starting my fifth year in the industry, and you've been around 10. I always say that I find most interesting about what we do on the voice and messaging side here that, it even seemed like 5 years ago that there wasn't such a focus on compliance, right? Like people were running calls, people
Yeah.
were starting to send text messages, but that was back when they were still trying to put A to P traffic over P2P rails, and the
Right.
carriers were just then they weren't really charging much for text messaging. So I'd love to get your input as you've seen the industry change over the years to something that seemed pretty quiet and to me like wasn't maybe all that interesting all those years ago,
Yeah.
but now it's completely changed.
Right. It's crazy. I mean, the reason I've enjoyed being in the industry for so long is because things constantly change and expand, and normally that's for the better. So you're never stagnant. I feel like I just constantly, even now, still learn new things every single day. And yeah, especially with the compliance piece around messaging and even like robocalling, stir shaken, there's just a lot to pay attention to now. And it seems like all eyes are on it, whereas before it was kind of, set it and forget it. But there's definitely some upkeep to it now, and the knowledge, I mean, like I said, I'm learning still. I feel like every day I come across something else that I hadn't heard of, or it's changed. So it's exciting, but it's a lot to keep up with these days.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting. Everybody makes fun about, hey, I'm trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty, right? Those phone calls. But when's the last time you got one of those calls? It's been a while.
Right.
It's been a while.
Exactly.
And that's because the SEC has finally cracked down on some of the worst offenders. And we're constantly monitoring the health of the traffic that we're passing, and sometimes we have to make tough decisions. But for me as a consumer, as well as an employee of
Yeah.
a telecom company, it feels like we're in a better place. I don't know if you agree, like the quality of the calls and the messages that are being passed through networks where people are truly paying attention has really improved in the last year or two. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, definitely. At the start of all of this, especially with 10 DLC and making sure things were registered, it was kind of, you were stuck in the middle of people had stuff registered and kind of knew what was going on, and then you were trying to just continue to send as you had always sent. And so it became kind of chaos where, everyone was getting the robocalls, or their messages weren't working if they were on the other end of the spectrum. So
Right.
it's nice to see that we finally are coming to a point where we have a process. I'm a huge process person, so we have our process down. We have the steps needed to get things registered and approved and to send successfully.
That's right. That's right. Well, before we go any farther, Katie, I'm going to go start going through this list. We got a couple great questions leading up to the webinar from people who are here, and some others that we've gotten in the past. I know from your team who are serving our 1,200 plus customers, asking very similar questions. But I want to recommend anybody who's on the call that has specific questions that they'd love answered by Katie, put them into the chat or the Q&A box. I'm monitoring that, and we'll answer those in real time. And when we get to the end, I'd love to open up the mics too, if anybody has a question. and we can talk one-on-one. But let's start with Katie. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I think it's important because I can see a lot of folks on this call potentially are already existing customers of ours on the tele side. So I just wanted to briefly I'd love to kind of update people on where we are with the transition, because everybody knows, we used to be Think, then we purchased Tele, and now we're Commio. So this is the month where it's all coming together and we're transitioning people, right, into
Yeah,
Think. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we've come a long way, and all teams have been involved here. The development team, obviously, making sure that the Think.io portal was able to support any features we did not previously have. We've got support integrated, so it's all going through our single support team. And the next step is really to get the traffic moved and consolidated into Think.io.
Right.
We have a plan in place. We want to make sure everybody gets access. So if you don't have access already, definitely let us know. We'll get you a login. We would love if you would go in and test it. Make an outbound call, make an inbound call, whatever you're going to be using it for, just to make sure all the configurations are there. And then we will work with you hand in hand to actually move that traffic over to make sure there's absolutely no downtime on that. And
That's right.
once you get there, there's a whole list of benefits and improvements that I think you guys are going to be really excited about once you're in Think.io.
Yep, for sure. Well, Katie, I love it. We're already getting some questions, so let's dive right into some of them before I get to the other ones. One of them is
Yeah.
someone's asking if anyone else is having trouble seeing the new pending status for 10 DLC campaigns on the campaign registry.
So let me show you guys, because there's one thing that's going to be changing actually later this week. We're updating that page to make it a little bit more user friendly as far as being able to see the statuses. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and kind of show you what we're working with right now. All right. So under messaging, we now have our new campaign registry pages. In this portal, you will see any existing brands or existing campaigns. I'm in our demo account. We don't have anything set here. But under view campaigns, you'll have your list of campaigns. The status that you're going to see as far as the green check mark, that is just to say, is it an active campaign or is it an expired campaign? The status you need to look for is going to go out in an email once you add your new campaign, and it's going to say if it was rejected or approved. Past that, there is over to the right a actions column where you can assign your phone numbers. We will not let you assign the phone numbers until it's been approved. So if you hover over assigned numbers and it says pending approval, you'll know it's either being reviewed or something's been rejected and we need to get that updated for you. Otherwise, once it's good to go, you'll see the email come through that says it's been approved and you'll have access to assign your numbers here in the portal. But we are
Gotcha.
working on some improvements to this page coming out on Thursday afternoon. So after Thursday, take a look. If there's any other features or changes you'd like, definitely reach out and let us know.
Fantastic. And David, I saw you asked us a question about our APIs and NetSapiens in particular. I did actually give you permission to talk. I would love for you to kind of lean into your question a little bit with Katie and see if we can see if we have an answer for you, David. If you want to unmute your mic, David Thompson.
I should be. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah.
Hey, David.
Hey. Basically, carriers more and more are offering up API integration to platforms and are taking on some of the lifting in the process with NetSapiens. And I was wondering what Commio's position was in that. Have you all approached Crescendo with any kind of partnership in developing integrations with any of your products directly with NetSapiens and that platform?
That's a great question. I know we have many customers that come to us through NetSapiens. So obviously, it's working and capable. That's a great question for us to take back, Tim. I'm not sure where we're at as far as partnering.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a good point. I mean, obviously, a lot of people use this directly through our APIs. we do have integrations with a lot of third parties out there. So yeah, I could definitely bring it to our folks who own the NetSapiens relationship and see if there's room to change or grow there for sure. Appreciate the question.
Yeah.
Thanks, David. Um, let's continue here a little bit. So this is one of my favorite questions, Katie, because look, you and I have been with the company so long. Like, one of the things that your team spends a lot of their time on porting and phone numbers, and to us it's sort of second nature. One of the questions we got is from a prospect was, why is it so hard to buy and activate new numbers immediately? And I kind of my brow gets furrowed, like, what do you mean it takes more than a day to get a phone number and turn it on? Apparently we're a little bit unique in terms of the speed that we can make that stuff happen, right?
Yeah. So, and there's several different scenarios. So I'm going to share my screen again. I know everybody's familiar with the portal, but it's a nice way to just kind of show you what we're looking at here. So under inbound, and anything I show you is of course available via the API as well. We have a few different search options. You can do toll free, you can do domestic. For domestic, you can do the NPA, NPA and XX, state, or state and rate center. When you plug in, let's just say I'm a local 336 here. When I plug this in, it will tell me if we have an exact match available for what you searched, or if it's a related match. So let's try 212 is normally exhausted. See what we get back here. So if you see it in the portal, it is available immediately. So these, 212, those are hard to come by, but we do have related results. And typically that's going to be the overlay of the area you're looking for. Now, if this isn't what you need, and you require a 212, or you require something specific that you just can't find with our search capabilities here, you can always back order through us. So now that does take some time, especially if it is an exhausted area code and we're having to go hunt one down. But if you see a number in the portal, you can check it off, you can start your order, and these numbers are going to be immediately added to your account.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll show you here, these pop up. The only thing you have to do is edit your routing preference, make sure it's set to where you want these numbers pointed to, and you can start making phone calls right away.
That's right. That's right. Because we've had a couple case studies lately, Katie, where one of their primary draws to come over and work with us was simply that they were trying to work with, for instance, one of the gentlemen was working with the Genesis contact center, which is a great contact center software, but when they tried to go to their carrier that they had connected to Genesis, it took over 2 months for them to get a toll-free number, and it still wasn't activated. And we were like, look, we've got phone numbers available. We could turn them on same day and you could have been routing calls. So
yeah,
just a simple, easy thing that we take for granted. And especially now, and by the way, one of the reasons why we're even named Commio is because we purchased a small company out of Texas called Commio. And that company has great, a great LATA network that we added to ours. And Sam down there has been working really hard on getting us other phone numbers, and we now have more phone numbers than we've ever had in our history, and continue to build on that. So, if you need phone numbers, Commio's the way come. We're the place to go, right? We've got lots and lots of them. So,
and Sam actually hit me up earlier, I think this morning, to let me know that we've extended or expanded our footprint again, both for the numbers to purchase and for the porting to port directly to us. So we're continuing to grow that footprint, and we hope to have any number you need available, but certainly if there's something you can't find, reach out. Sometimes we can go find it right away for you.
Yeah, he said it many times, Katie, that we start with customer needs. So if you have a request, you need numbers, that comes first, and then after that, it's going after the larger population centers to get more numbers in those areas. So don't be shy, and it's built right into the platform. We had a great question here from Scott, Katie. It's and I think I understand what he's saying. He's saying, if I have a master account for a long distance carrier, when I route calls to them, do I still get billed, or will that be charged on my master account? I guess they're saying they're working with us, but they also have a master account for a long distance carrier.
Okay.
Is that right?
Gotcha. So That will not, it will not be related. And what I mean by that is if it goes through our network and happens to pass across that same carrier that you're using elsewhere, we're going to do the billing. So that carrier is going to bill us. We're going to pass that to you. Now, obviously, if you're sending to them directly, we won't know about it. It'll come from them. But when you send us a call on outbound and it chooses, one of those 40 plus carriers, we are the ones talking directly to that carrier and they are billing us for that call. So they won't know that it's you using them, even if it's through our platform, unless you're going direct on your own account.
Right. And I think he followed it up too, and he says, what about making 800 calls toll free? Do I get credit or do I have to pay for those calls?
So on outbound, we do not charge you for toll free. We do have a toll-free rebate opportunity if your minutes are high enough. So definitely let us know if that's something you'd be interested in. I can get your account manager to reach out. But any toll-free traffic you send our way on outbound, we're not going to charge you for that.
There you go. Great. See, Katie, that's why we have you on these calls. That's great. I love it. I feel like it's been a while since we've talked about toll-free out loud. So it's good to do that.
Yeah. I know.
Let's see. So Mark is asking, so related results are local numbers to the original search. Is that right? Or you're saying it was the overlay, right? If there's another area code in that area.
Typically it's going to be the overlay, especially on an exhausted NPA or area code. Now, if there's something like I did a search the other day, I think for a specific rate center. If that specific rate center is not available, it's going to give you a rate center in the same area. But so that's a little bit of a different situation. It's not really an overlay, but it's a rate center that's in a similar area that will hopefully fit your needs. If you do a search and you don't find what you need, go ahead and click the back order button. That'll come to us and we can go search on something specific. But the related matches are normally a good option unless you really need, whatever criteria you plugged in.
Got it. Roberto's asking an interesting question. Again, I think I know what he means. He says, what about a Slack interface? I think what he means is, can he have a Slack, interface with us? And the answer is, yeah, we do offer that to some of our customers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. One thing we always encourage you to open up a trouble ticket, whether it's, a question you think of, or if you are having a portal bug or issue, maybe you're having a call issue, whatever it is, we always encourage you to open up a ticket, no matter how small. Even if you find a workaround, we want to know about it so that we can fix anything that's not working. Definitely open up a ticket, support@commio.com. That's going to come to my team as well as the NOC team. And then from there, feel free to call us as well. We have a billing line, support line, customer success line, and we are always happy to answer any questions that come up. And then past that, one thing I did want to mention too, just in case people don't know about it, we do have an escalation procedure as well. It's an article in our support portal in the knowledge base that gets you some additional contacts in case, it's the middle of the night and something went down and you need to get a hold of us.
That's right. But knock on wood, we have not had those problems. So
yes.
it's nice to know that that's there, but we haven't needed it.
Right.
I think what Roberto's getting to is, I guess he's saying he does have a Slack interface through Tele, and he was wondering if that was going to continue under us. But it's just based on the tier of the customer who we open that up to, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So we can definitely take a look and see if it's one that would be migrating over or not. If it does go away, we do want to make sure you have all of the ways to reach out to us, even if it's not in a Slack channel.
That's right. All right, great. Like I said in the chat, keep those questions coming. That's great. But let me go back to our list here. I think this is a good one, which is when we make calls, why is our caller ID wrong and how can I fix it? I know caller ID is a big part of one of the services we provide that people really love, right? So how could we help somebody fix that?
So in your portal, if you go to inbound configure numbers, one of the settings that you have available is to set the caller ID name. It's not required, it's an optional feature. But if you want to present a specific caller ID name when you're dialing out from one of your Commio numbers, this is the place to do that. And all you would need to do is build in the CNAM out tab, build it out with whatever name you want to show. You can say whether it's residential or a business. And then back on configure numbers is where you would edit a number and actually assign, I'll just go with Katie Test, to that phone number. Once you save it, it's pushed out to the database immediately. Now, occasionally, as you know, some carriers do cache. We don't cache it on our end, but if you're calling, say, Verizon, and maybe they're on a 24-hour cache, it could take 24 hours for it to update, but it'll push out immediately to the database as soon as you save it in Think.io.
That's great. Yep, we've got the whole end-to-end solution. I appreciate that. So, and this question came up a few times, Katie, which is, is there a better way to manage my costs? Like, where can I find my rates and how can I monitor changes?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, there's a few things in the portal that we've added, especially over the past year. And I think people just don't really know where to find it. So one thing I do want to point out, well, if my screen will work for me, is the dashboard. So when you first log into your account, you'll see the graphs. I'm going to stop sharing and see if I can get this to load. You'll see the graphs, which are broken down by product. That's always a great way to just get a quick summary of like, what am I doing on a day-to-day basis? This number's messing me up. Here we go. All right, I'm going to share again. All right.
So nice to work with.
Dashboard. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just say it's so nice to work with a co-presenter who's adept at Zoom. Thank you.
Yes.
Usually it's a bit of a strained thing. Please continue. Sorry.
So we have the products here. I think a lot of times people don't realize, and of course this is a demo account, so there's not much on here, but you can flip between your products here at the top and see all of the usage. On things like outbound, you can switch between these subgraphs, which show you calls and minutes, usage, average rate. So that's a great way to just do a quick look and see what you're kind of doing on a day-to-day basis. From there, one of the newer billing features we have, which I think was added about 6 months ago, is this billing statements page. And this allows you in the top right, there's a drop down to select which month you want to look at. It breaks it down by product, and I can click in and see, okay, this month on our demo account, we've had, this amount of usage, this amount of toll free. On the phone numbers, I can see we've purchased 2 phone numbers. It basically gives you a summary of everything you're doing, even including taxes. If you're being charged taxes, it'll break that down as well. So the monthly summary is an awesome tool that was added. You can go back to previous months, like if you wanted to see what your January usage was now that the month is closed, this is a great spot to come.
That's great.
Another place you can go is under billing rates. This is where your default rates are going to be for each product. So you have your inbound rates, you have the outbound rate deck, which we do update normally about once a month. Anytime it's updated, I'm sure you guys see the emails that let you know it's going to be changing. This is where you can come download it to actually see the actual rate deck. And then one other thing I did want to mention too, under both inbound and outbound, we have a CDR FTP tab. That is where you can download daily files of your traffic. It's any call that we build you for will be included in a CDR. Those are updated each morning around 8 a.m. Eastern for the previous day's traffic. Like I said, there's one for inbound, one for outbound, but that breaks it down by every single call we bill you for.
Excellent. All right, Katie, a couple follow-up questions to what we just covered and a side question. I think one thing before I give you the other question is, I think we've got some folks on here that are current tele customers that have not yet transitioned, and they're sort of asking what to do next. And I would say, we've kind of sent a few emails to all the tele accounts that we have on file starting in November. But if you haven't heard from us, if those emails for some reason didn't get through, that's fine. Just please, like Katie said, send us an email to support@commio.com. tell us that, you're a tele customer interested in transitioning. We will follow up, find your account information, and reach out. So good questions about that.
Yeah, great
We know
question.
sometimes the emails sometimes aren't the greatest, so that's totally fine. And Scott followed up with back to caller ID.
Mhm.
His question was caller ID name inbound. Do we dip every time? How often do we dip?
Oh yes. Okay. So on the inbound side, one of the features is, let me toggle this on here, is this CNAM lookup. So if you want to look up the person that's calling your number, you do want to toggle this on. If it's not turned on, we're not going to do the dip. But if you
Hmm,
turn that on, every single call that comes into that number will be dipped. And presented to you. There is a charge associated with that, which is why we give you the option to turn it off on numbers you don't need it, but it would just be toggling on CNAM lookup.
great. That's awesome. And Scott's also asking, can I have 200 channels or more? How many channels can we get? What's our limit there?
Um, yeah, so channels are done on a per account basis. So we don't charge for channels or anything like that. We are happy to give you as many as you need, as long as your traffic stats, which mean, you know, short duration, things like that, that will check. As long as those look good, we'll increase your channels. Just
Okay,
send us an email to support with how many you need, and we can get that approved and bumped up.
got it. And let's see, Scott's also asking, hey, if when I port numbers in, is the port scheduled for a certain day and time, or is it just any time of the day?
Great question. There were a few things I wanted to actually touch on, so this is a good segue here. Under porting, on this page, you can copy and paste your numbers. You can upload a file. I'm going to plug one in here just so we can get to the next screen. It will break it down on the following screen by tier. As I said, we're trying to get as many numbers and rate centers portable to Commio. So this is going to expand over the coming weeks, where we're hoping to port directly to Commio. But we also use IntelliQuint for areas like Canada that we don't cover directly. And we're asking here for your basic LOA information. So normally this would be gathered during a file. You could either use our LOA or maybe you have your own, but we're capturing the information live so that the ports can get submitted right away, and there's not a manual step for us to go do that. But part of this screen is selecting the port date that you're requesting, and then also the requested time. Now, if you don't care what time of day it goes, you can just leave it on that default. But if you do need a specific time, select it here. And then when you submit this, it's going to come through to the porting team and they'll know what time to aim for.
There you go. Customizable. I love it. Um, let's see. So this question was asked kind of the same way twice, which is, hey, if I submitted a port but realized that I made some kind of a mistake, can we change the number on the request and add the right one, or what can we do about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So and this is not our rule, it's kind of the industry standard, is we can remove numbers, no problem. So if you added an extra number you didn't want on there, let us know, we can take it out. If you need to add numbers, your options are either cancel the port and we'll resubmit with the full list, or we can submit a second port for whatever numbers were left off. Now, keep in mind, some carriers, if there's more than one port going on a single account, they'll stop the second one from completing until the first one goes through. So if you do need those to go through on the same date, I would suggest let's cancel it, resubmit with the correct list, and we'll try and push it through as quickly as possible.
And a follow-up question to that was, why am I getting an error message when trying to submit a port-in request?
There's a couple things on this page that I actually have several tickets open with our backend team to see if they can get this fixed. It could be that the number already exists in our system. If that's the case, if you just email us to support, we'll take a look and see. The other thing is it's very picky, this text box here. So if I leave dashes in here, I think it gives me an error. I know if you like tab down like that and try and submit, it's not going to like that extra line. It really has to be, for whatever reason right now, and I'm hoping they improve this, but no extra spaces or anything like that, just the 10-digit number. If that doesn't work, please send me an email and just let me know the list of numbers, and I can try and test it out there and see what's going on for you.
I think another thing maybe that's going on, Katie, that we talked about ahead of time was that it could be because there's already an active request to port in the number, right? So
that could be as well.
Mhm.
So there's a number of things. So definitely don't spend too much time trying to figure it out. Just reach out to us. We can kind of quickly look and see what's going on. And hopefully this page improves soon, because it is kind of ridiculous that it doesn't like that space there. So I'm hoping that gets fixed very quickly.
You know how data is, right?
Yeah.
If it's not pristine, it causes problems.
Right.
And by the way, I love that you went really deep into the billing section, because that answered about 5 of the other questions that I had in front of
Okay,
me,
good.
which is like, how do I know what I'm getting charged? Where, all those things. And you already answered all those questions. That's great.
Awesome.
But there was a sort of a lingering question, which, why was I charged so much on the first of the month? I saw a few auto pays trigger. Why would that be?
That's a good question. So on the first of the month, we are going to charge MRCs for any numbers you have with us. And I can pull this up in the billing rates here. So MRCs are going to be charged for your phone numbers. If you have any of these features, like 911 has a recurring MRC charge tied to it. On the first of the month, we take a summary of everything on your account and we bill those out to you. There's also going to be some taxes and fees get charged at that time as well. So it's very common for you to have a much larger charge on the first than throughout your normal usage during the month.
Right.
If you have auto pay configured, and let's say you had it topping up $100 at a time, but your MRCs were $300 this month, it will trigger auto pay 3 times to make sure that your account does not get shut off. It wants to keep that balance high enough. And if that larger MRC charge is coming out, it will go ahead and trigger more than once.
Got it. Katie, a couple other side questions here. David, yes, the answer is absolutely. We are recording this, so we will share this afterwards. You'll get that. That's great. He says he wants to use it for training, Katie. There's good
Awesome.
stuff. Good stuff
Yeah.
being community guy. I love that. Yeah, no problem, David. And we have somebody here from one of our customers here. Is how can I tell how many channels we have been using? I never knew that there was a 200 default limit. Good question.
So channels, we do not have a report for that in the portal. I definitely suggest, if capable with your switch setup or your own monitoring, to set that up as something you're monitoring on your end. That being said, we can always check it for you. We just don't keep a record of it. So if you want me to go look at it, if 2 p.m. in the afternoon is your typical highest peak, let me know. I can go do a search on your account and see what you're hitting on any given day. And we can definitely make sure that you have enough capacity. That being said, our NOC team is monitoring this. So they try and keep an eye on anybody that's getting close or going over, so that we can proactively increase you, because we don't ever want that to be an issue where you're sending traffic and you don't have enough capacity on the account.
Yeah, a few people are saying the channel specs will be a really nice addition to the portal. I don't disagree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yep.
Awesome. All right, Katie. Well, that went quickly, and I think that was awesome. I'd love to ask you too, like, now that you've been in this industry so long, what do you see changing this year in particular? Like, compliance is becoming such a big thing, but what do you see with all the changes in voice and messaging? Anything that's top of mind for you that you work with on a daily basis that you think is going to be a trend this year?
Yeah. It's all about messaging right now. It seems that way. We're spending, so all of us are spending so much of our days making sure things are registered and then fixing anything that comes back rejected. It's changing with TCR about which fields are required. So I definitely think, though, we're finally kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, where we know what they're checking for. We're getting better I would say, outlines of what's needed ahead of submitting it so that we can share that with you guys before you even have to go submit. These are best practices. This is what we've seen work. We finally have some real information back on that we're excited to share. So I think that's going to be a huge progress this year is seeing additional messages get registered and approved, and therefore that they can send successfully.
Yeah, I think it's well said, Katie. Like I personally, it's just it's been great to see that, the carrier is working through their own solution, which is the campaign registry. Say what you will, it's trying to accomplish what they wanted to, which is, allow us to know our customers, both as people like Commio, so that we can know who you are, and then so you can know who your sub customers are. So in case something happens and we know people make mistakes, or sometimes people push through traffic that is non-conforming, we need to be able to find out who that is as fast as possible and address it. So that's what I'm most excited about, Katie, this year, is that I think this is probably the year where the carriers are going to say no more unregistered traffic, period.
Right.
You have to register all of it, which again, I think is just, it might be a short-term hit to their revenue, but to everybody's revenue, but that doesn't matter. It's all about, what we say on our website in particular is it's all about really good customer experiences, customer conversations, both on the voice and messaging side. Nobody wants to get that car warranty call. Stir Shaken is part of one little small piece of that solution. But we also have to know our customers so we can stop robocalls, and we're part of Traceback. And that's one of the, as I think you and I both know, Katie, every day I'm sending you an email from somebody who's trying to report an issue with a robocall, and we're chasing those down and taking action every day. And a lot of them don't originate from us, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
As part of the ecosystem, we still have to chase them and shut them down. But I'm most excited about the messaging side because, again, I don't know about you, but this phone, like I didn't get a single email during the election, not even one. I got lots of text messages though. So, and surprisingly, the politicians carved out a huge exception that it doesn't matter if you're on the do not call list, you're still going to get those text messages because politics are not subject to the same rules. I wonder why that is. Anyway, I'm making fun, but I don't know. As a human being with an email address and a phone and a text messaging device, we're in a much better place than we were even 2 years ago from a compliance standpoint. But we still have a long way to go, and I'm just excited that we're playing our part to clean everything up. Yeah. Hey, a couple good questions, by the way. I should have mentioned this at the beginning, Larry. Thank you for asking this question is, well, who's going to be at IT Expo? Well, unfortunately, Katie or I will not be at IT Expo, but Eric and Mike will be there. So when you get this recording, if you're interested in meeting with either Eric, who's our VP of Sales, or Mike Moran, who's our awesome COO, they're going to be there every day of the event, walking the halls and having lots of meetings. So Larry would love to have them meet up with you down there in Florida next week. I can't believe it's going to be Valentine's Day next week already. It's February 14th.
Gosh.
So that's great. And we're also, by the way, as a team, we're sending, oh my gosh, I think there's 8 of us going to LeadsCon in Las Vegas in the middle of the Ides of March at the MGM Grand. So if any of you are going to LeadsCon, love for you also to reply, and it'll come to me and we'll get you set up. And that reminds me, I got to ship the booth out soon, Katie. There's a lot of work to do. It's good stuff.
I know, it's quickly approaching.
Yeah. Oh, actually, here, hold on. I've got a couple more. As far as you guys know, what is currently considered a robocall? Katie, how would you answer that question?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for a while it was considered, I would say, like a dialer type call. So it's not, person to person, it's the computer dialing it, which there's, plenty of call centers that are not doing robocalls.
Right.
But that's kind of what we see. And then it's a call where it's someone did not opt in to receive that call.
Right.
They, were not planning to be contacted about this. And like Tim said with the car warranty, a lot of times they're contacting you about something completely illegal, and it's nothing they actually have control of or any relation to.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to say that there's both legal and illegal robocalls. because there is
Yeah.
definitely a genuine business case
Right.
for legal robocalling instead of legal ones that we're concerned about. Good
Yeah.
answer. Couple other questions here real quick too. Um, for SMS, Roberto asking, for SMS, are you going to support offline numbers? I think Roberto means hosted SMS, and the answer
Yes.
is yes, we do support that now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
Hmm.
If you cannot see it in your portal, let me know. It is a separate product. So if you don't see it, let me know. I can go turn it on. But it shows up under messaging and it's going to be called hosted numbers. You'll see we have one in here, but what you'll do is upload your numbers. The next screen has sort of like an LOA. It just captures some basic account information and has you go ahead and sign within the portal. That submits out. If it's approved right away, which a lot of them are within a few minutes, you'll see this green check mark here of the status, which is good to go. If for some reason it's a carrier that won't auto release it to us, that's what we're going to do with that LOA that you signed in the portal is we're going to send that off, give them the LOA, and then they'll typically release it within 24 to 48 hours. Some of those are like, I think we found Bandwidth and Telnex. They just don't auto release. So if it's coming from them, we'll just take that extra step for you. But otherwise, it'll be good to go. And you can start sending as soon as you get that green check mark in there.
There you go. That's great. Some people call them off-net. Some people call them hosted. We're sticking with hosted. There you go. Very good. Roberto, did that answer your question, by the way? You mentioned, are you going to support offline numbers? Let me know if that was what you were at. I think that's what you were trying to get at. Well, all right, Katie, that was hold on, let's see. Yes, Roberto said yes. Good.
Okay, great.
Hopefully we can help you out there, Roberto. Well, great. Just to wrap it up, Katie, thank you so much. I know you're so busy. This was a great oh my gosh, we've been going 41 minutes. We're gonna do this again. Would love it. So like I mentioned, we're gonna send out the recording. Reply with any questions maybe that you thought of afterwards. I'll get them to Katie. We'll respond to you. I'll take full responsibility for making sure we get back to you. And look, if you ever want to reach Katie and her team, support at Commio.com. Any question, any issues, we are monitoring 24/7, and we will get back to you very quickly. That's one of the things, by the way, if you look at all of our beautiful 120 reviews on G2, yes, I'm bragging a little bit because it's taken me a while to get to that number, but almost invariably almost every review mentions the quality of our support team. And Katie, you're one of the big reasons for that. So thank you for all your hard work and efforts, and it pays off.
Of course.
So many people come to us just because they're tired of dealing with Intelliquent and other companies that just, a little bit more hoops, not as, you know what I mean? I'm not casting just aspersions against them at all. It's just that we can get back a little quicker, and we're a little bit more friendly in terms of our speed of replying. So
yeah,
I feel like now I'm going to get in trouble for saying bad things about Intelliquent. I'm not saying Intelliquent's bad. I'm just saying your team is very responsive, and that's a good thing. So anyway, I'm going to stop jabbering. Katie, thank you so much again. And like I said, we will do this again.
Tim.
And by the way, there were about 2 questions in here that I didn't want to do live that I will get to you, Katie, for follow up with the individual folks asking about, the size of the pipe that they want to put their calls through and things that, we talk about offline. But again, hey, thanks for everybody for showing up today. Again, reply with those questions and, let us know what other topics you'd love for us to talk about on these calls as well. We'd love to get people together to have open conversations. And otherwise, if you're sort of new to Commio, if you haven't really checked out how we've changed over time, we are now 3 companies in one, Commio and Tele and Think into Commio. We'd love to kind of walk you through our platform, show you what other services we have. And if there's a match and we can help you, we'd love to have that opportunity to see if we can make that work. So go over to Commio.com, click on that, get a demo, and we'll get you on with our experts, and we'll get your questions answered, and maybe we'll find a way to work together. And if you're a current Tele customer, remember, support at Commio.com. Let's make sure we got you on that track for transition. We're in the middle of those right now. But otherwise, thank you so much, Katie. Thank you for everybody for dialing in, and we'll send out the recording here by the end of the day. And thanks again for being here. Katie, thank you as well.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Tim, for pulling us together, and thank you, everyone, for joining. Definitely don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help.